Welcome to the Defense Ministry. Thank you for coming here. We have Jens Stoltenberg visiting today. The Minister will start off with a statement and then he will hand over to the Secretary General, and then we have time for questions. Minister. Thank you, Jens. I'm very happy to welcome you here once again for a very trusted exchange in a spirit of friendship and atmosphere of friendship. First of all, congratulations on today's award. You were awarded with the Henry Kissinger Prize. This is an extraordinary honor to receive this award, but I do feel like you have deserved this so much because you have shown so much commitment as NATO Secretary General. I know that there were times when people referred to NATO as brain dead, or I remember when the war of aggression waged by Russia broke out and you were in the driver's seat at the time, and you sent very clear messages as NATO SecGen showing where NATO stands and how important this is, how important NATO is for the security of all of us. And this is why it's a particular honor for your great merits to strengthen the transatlantic relations in very, very tense times. Here in our talk just now, we briefly spoke about the defense policy guidelines. I presented Jens with a first edition in English. We will print this in English later, and I told Jens that these guidelines pick up on our national security strategy, and they represent the strategic priorities for German defense policy in the next few years. And they also phrase very clearly the core mission of the Bundeswehr for the next years, and that is national and collective defense. The guidelines provide us with the way ahead for the Bundeswehr of the future. And in this endeavor, just until like 1990, one thing applies. The security of our allies is also the security of Germany, and vice versa. The Bundeswehr is an army of an alliance, and we fill this claim with life. This is why we also provided concrete plans to the regional plans. We made our commitments there. We take on responsibility, especially in the Baltics, the most exposed region of the alliance. In the Baltics, as you all know already, we will deploy a robust brigade to there. As of next year, Germany will spend 2% of GDP in defense and armaments, and we will continue with that over the next few years. The Federal Chancellor thankfully said that earlier this morning at the Bundeswehr meeting, the Bundeswehr-Tagung. We are in a geographic position which turns us into a hub. We are important as such for military mobility within NATO. The European Sky Shield Initiative is another German-led, German-initiated program that is so crucial because we learned so many lessons from the war in Ukraine. We have seen how important this topic is and will be in the future, and we are in the lead here too. And all that also applies to the military support and the material support to Ukraine. After the US, we are the second largest supporter of Ukraine, and we will remain that. And Jens, I hand over to you now.
Minister Pistorius, dear Boris, thank you so much for welcoming me here once again. It's great to be back and great to meet you, and thank you for your leadership and your strong personal commitment to NATO, to the transatlantic bond. And not least, thank you for your leadership in transforming the German Bundeswehr. Germany's leading role in NATO matters at this critical moment for European security. Russia's war against Ukraine rages on. Missiles continue to strike Ukrainian cities daily, and Ukraine faces more Russian attacks on its energy grid as it heads into the second winter of this war. Allies continue to provide strong military, financial and humanitarian support, and Germany plays a key role. From Marder and Leopard tanks to Iris-T air defense and munitions, German support saves lives and helps Ukraine defend their freedom. And as you said, Germany is the second largest provider of support to Ukraine, just next to the United States. So this really makes a difference. Russia is also undermining our security by demonstrating complete disregard for arms control. This week, they withdrew from the Treaty on Conventional Armed Forces in Europe. With this step, Russia has walked away from every major arms control treaty. In February this year, Moscow suspended its participation in the new START treaty, the last pact regulating the number of nuclear weapons between the United States and Russia. And a few years ago, Russia's violations of the Intermediate Nuclear Forces Treaty, INF, rendered this treaty null and void. All of this makes the world more dangerous and demonstrates the importance of a strong NATO. At the Vilnius summit, NATO leaders committed to strengthen our own defences, with the most robust defence plans since the Cold War. We are now assigning the necessary forces, developing new capabilities and strengthening our command and control structures. Germany also plays a major part of this effort. Your Navy keeps critical sea lanes open. Germany's Sky Shield initiative bolsters NATO's air and missile defences and help to keep our skies safe. You will station a brigade in Lithuania, protecting our eastern flank from Russian aggression, and you will make further substantial contributions to the NATO force model. All of these are important contributions to our shared security. Germany's new defence policy guidelines, which you presented yesterday, demonstrate that you are delivering on the Zeitenwende, not only in words but also in deeds. We need a strong Bundeswehr which is ready to fight at the heart of the alliance, and we need to implement these changes quickly. I therefore welcome Germany's increased defence spending and your clear commitment to invest 2% of GDP on defence by next year. This reflects Germany's responsibility and Germany's leadership. The war in Ukraine also underlines the importance of ramping up our defence production and our cooperation with the private sector, so that we can be faster and better in fielding new equipment. Germany has the technological expertise and the industrial base to scale up production and deliver cutting-edge systems and ammunition. This matters for Ukraine's security and for our security. So there, Boris, German leadership in NATO matters for peace in Europe. Thank you once again for your strong personal commitment to our alliance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vielen Dank für die Statements. Und gibt es Fragen?
Thank you very much for your statements. Are there any questions so far?
Herr Generalsekretär,
Secretary General,
wenn dieser Krieg noch länger
do you fear that if this war in Ukraine continues, as it probably will, that support of some member states, for example, Hungary, will dwindle, or maybe we will see a different situation in the US after the elections? So are you concerned that the Europeans will have to shoulder a larger part of the burden? And a similar question to the Minister. You and the Chancellor are talking about the Zeitenwende, and you are now trying to implement that. Would you say that you are really able to further support Ukraine, for example, if the Americans provided less support?
Well, what we have seen since this war started is unprecedented support from NATO allies to Ukraine. And President Putin made at least two big strategic mistakes when he invaded Ukraine. The first and most important was that he totally underestimated the Ukrainians, the courage, their determination, their bravery of the Ukrainian armed forces, the political leadership of the Ukrainian people. But the other big strategic mistake President Putin made was to underestimate NATO, NATO allies and partners. Because since the war, allies have delivered unprecedented support, including advanced air defense systems, battle tanks, F-16s, cruise missiles, and many other types of ammunition, weapons, and military support to Ukraine. And I'm confident that NATO allies will continue to do so, not only because we have agreed at the NATO summit and also in the US-led contact group for defense again and again that we will continue to provide support to Ukraine, but also because it is in our interest to do so. We have to remember and understand that If President Putin wins in Ukraine, it is a tragedy for the Ukrainians, but it's also dangerous for us, because then the message to President Putin and other authoritarian leaders will be that when they use military force, when they violate international law, when they invade another country, they get what they want. And that will make us more vulnerable. So I'm confident that North America, Europe, together will continue to support Ukraine, also because we know that the stronger Ukraine is on the battlefield, the stronger their hand will be on the negotiating table. So if we want a negotiated peaceful solution to this conflict, the way to get there is by providing military support to Ukraine to facilitate a solution which is lasting and just.
Vielen Dank, lieber Jens. Ich teile deine Auffassung.
Thank you, Jens. I share your opinion. And I don't see any other way than keeping Ukraine or bringing Ukraine into a strategically strong position by providing more support. We will not get any closer to an end of this war if we end our support. I am firmly convinced of that. And the Zeitenwende is now happening. We will be reaching 2% next year, and we will be reaching that for sure until 2027 through our defense budget and the special fund. And beyond 2027, as the Chancellor promised this morning, we will keep up the 2% in some other way, and we will draw up a roadmap for that. And if we want to learn from the war in Ukraine and who want to make sure that we can receive enough resupplies from industry, then we do need the funds to provide planning security for industry, and that is important.
Gibt es weitere Fragen?
Are there any other questions?
Sieht nicht so aus. Wir haben heute schon viele Fragen beantwortet.
No questions for now. Thank you very much.
Ja, einmal die Guidelines für dich jetzt. Gut. Ach ja, und das Foto. Picture. So, wow. Very young, very young.